Hey guys, it's Bob Sumien. I'm a Texas realtor and I work with Award Property Management. And today we are going to discuss leases, what you need to know about leases, what you need to know before you go to start viewing properties, especially with us. I'm going to go over our requirements, but the requirements are pretty much across the board with any management company that you're going to be trying to lease from. There could be some exceptions, a little bit of differences here and there, but as a general rule of thumb, these are probably close to high end or middle of the road. So this will give you a good starting ground to look at yourself before you go out and spend your time looking at properties that you may or may not qualify for. So that's what I'm trying to do here, is minimize your time looking for something that you wouldn't be able to get into. So I've got some notes over here for our credit score. Let me back up just a minute. Okay, so the whole process of being screened is going to take between 3 and 5 business days. So you need to plan on at least that much time for the application to be approved or disapproved. And then once that's done, most of your companies are going to have to go in and do a make ready. And what they do during the make ready is they do the touch-up paints, they do the changing of the door locks, they do carpet cleaning, general cleaning. They're going to do everything to get the house ready for you to move in. So that typically doesn't get done, at least with us, until somebody is ready to move in, because we don't know how many people are going to be walking in and out of the house between renters. So, rain and what have you, you're going to drag mud in there looking at houses. So we just do everything just before you move in, and that way it's good and clean and ready to go for you guys, especially the changing of the door locks. With those, don't get done until the day of or just before, maybe a day or two just before somebody moves in. That way those keys are only being used for like 2 days before you move in. We keep a key at the shop because we have to, but at the office. But other than that, you've got the only keys to the house. So to dive into what you need to have, what your requirements will be, let's start out with your credit score. You need a credit score minimum of 580. Higher is better. So if you've got 600, 650, somewhere in there, you're really good shape. But we need a minimum of 580. We can work with a little bit lower. Just depends on how well and how overqualified you are in, say, income and some of the other areas. We can then work with just a little bit of less on the credit score. And then really, if you're looking to buy a house at some point, you don't really start getting into good credit ratings until 600, 620. Lenders, they can work with you at 500, but then you're paying really, really high interest rates. So they say that 600, 620 is when it really starts getting to the upper level mortgages and the good rates. So if you're at 580, you're at 600, you're still renting, you're well qualified for us. Sorry, I got tongue tied there. You're well qualified for us at 580 to 600. So keep that in mind. And then as far as income, what we require is you need to make 3 times the rent in income. So for an example, if the rent is $1,500 a month, you need to be bringing in $4,500 a month gross income to qualify. Obviously, more is better, but 3 times is the minimum. And why we do that is so that we're not putting you in a position of overextending yourself. Say, God forbid, you had a medical emergency. You had to have 4 crowns put in your mouth that month at $1,200 a crown. I just had one done, so I know exactly what they run. $1,200 a crown. So we're trying to keep it to where you can handle things like that. You're not going to have to decide whether you put 4 crowns in or 3 crowns in this month and pay your rent, or, something along those lines. At 4 crowns, you're still going to have to decide unless you got some savings, of course. But that's the point. If you're making 3 times the rent, hopefully you're putting some of that money back. If you're smart, you will be, because obviously we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. We could have something come along. Your rental history. You've got to have 2 years of rental history. It's got to be a good rental history. You can't have any evictions. That's a automatic disqualification if you have any judgments or evictions in any of your past rental places, apartments, houses, doesn't matter. Anything that you've rented, if you have an eviction or a judgment of any type against you, say you moved out, your security deposit didn't cover all the repairs, and then you didn't pay the extra $200, and they have a judgment against you in the courts for the $200, that disqualifies you. So you need to make sure that you don't have anything like that on your record. And if you do, go back and take care of it. If you prove that you've gone back and taken care of that $200 bill, then it's a little bit easier to work with you, especially if it was taken care of shortly after it happened and it happened a while ago. If it happened within the last, say, 4 or 5 years, it's a little bit tougher. If it happened, 10, 12, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, then, people change. So we understand that as you get older, people get more responsible typically. And so we'll work with you there. Employment history. You have to have 2 years of employment history as well. Now, neither of these have to be at the same apartment complex or the same job. If you transferred jobs, if you had a small lapse of time in between jobs, say you got laid off for whatever reason, they did a reduction in force. And for example, the current COVID-19 that we're dealing with as of the recording of this video, we're on lockdown now. So I decided to do a little video. But if you got laid off and you're laid off for a short period of time, you did find another job, it's understandable. It happens. We understand that. So just because you didn't have a job for those entire 2 years won't disqualify you. It will disqualify you if you have a long term of unemployment. So, and then I covered evictions and judgments. Those are automatic disqualifications. The other thing that's an automatic disqualification is a criminal record. Okay, so if you have anything that's higher than a ticket, higher than a misdemeanor, that's going to be an automatic disqualification. You can't, have anything where you have gone to jail for, or you, have a record of some sorts. So once we have all that in place, then what happens is we pre-qualify you just like a lender would pre-qualify you when you go to get a loan for a home. So you want to visit with us and make sure that we are qualified through all those before we go and show. So once we've qualified you on all those, and this doesn't take an application process, we just visit with you over the phone and make sure that you have the understanding that those are the requirements, and that if you're telling us, yes, you have these, and no, you don't, the first thing is you're going to be wasting $50 per adult over 18 application fee if we go ahead and start processing. Because if we run across something that disqualifies you, then, the application fee is non-refundable. So that's why we do this as well. Then once we've done talking to you over the phone, we will take you out and show you the property, walk you around. Right now, we're only doing virtual tours, but as a general rule, when we're not under a pandemic like we currently are, and I don't know when this is going to end, but at some point we're going to be doing in-person tours again. We'll show you the property, and then once you actually fill out the application, get it to us, It does take 3 to 5 business days, like I said before. And then we have a company that will go through and verify everything for us. So there is an outside source that goes through, make sure that you don't have a criminal record, make sure that you don't have any evictions or judgments against you, make sure that you have a job, what your income is, make sure that you had good rental history, no problems in the past. And then after we get all that back and you are approved, you have basically about 48 hours, 2 business days. So Saturdays and Sundays don't count, holidays don't count, but 2 business days you've got to the amount of time to get us your deposit. We require just the security deposit at that point. We don't necessarily require first month's rent at that point. We don't require a pet deposit at that point. You can pay any of that at that time if you'd like, unless you're moving in within a few days, but if we're holding it for 15, 30, 45 days, 45 is really about the max. That's another thing I should cover too, is if you are looking for a rental, what you want to do is if you've got to have a 60-day notice to your previous landlord, you want to go ahead and give that notice, and then you want to wait about a week. And then you can start looking at properties. Because like I said, we don't hold a property for over 45 days before move in with a security deposit. We get requests for 3 months, 6 months. Somebody started looking that far in advance. No, I'm sorry. We cannot hold a property that long, because for that long, we're not collecting any rent. So within that 45 days is when you want to start looking for your next property. And then you will, after you get our deposit to us, you also sign what's called a hold agreement. That's just saying that we're holding the property for you, we're holding your security deposit, and that you will move in on such and such a date. Then what you want to do is you want to get on the phone and get with your utility companies. We will give you a form that says, hey, this property has electric, water, and they're always going to have electric and water. And then it'll tell you whether or not it has natural gas or propane or any other utility that may be there. Usually natural gas is about the only other one. Propane, I know of one house that I just leased. It did have a propane bottle to service the fireplace. It didn't have natural gas in the house. It just had a propane bottle outside that hooked up to a line that ran all the way to the fireplace. So it did have propane. If you live out in the country, there are houses with 200-gallon propane tanks for central heat or cooking or what have you. So there can be propane or natural gas, just depending. And then the other thing you want to look at is if you don't already have renter's insurance, you do want to consider having renter's insurance, because the homeowner or the property owner's insurance only covers the structure and liability. So it doesn't cover any of your personal belongings. So if there happens to be a fire and you lose a computer, you lose pictures, you lose clothes, you lose everything, you're not covered unless you have renter's insurance. So the best thing to do would be to talk to your insurance agent, and they can get you set up on that. And then finally, what we do after you're moved in, and there will come a time where you're actually going to either buy a house or move to another location. You decide it's time for a change, so you're going to move out. So the things that you need to know about the move out are that the carpet was cleaned for you by the previous tenant. So when the tenant before you moved out, they paid to have the carpets cleaned so that when you moved in, your carpets were nice and clean. As well, you will pay for the next person's carpet cleaning. So when you leave, out of your security deposit at a minimum, unless there are other damages, there will be carpet cleaning removed from that. Now, if there are other damages, say there's holes in the wall, you left tacks or screws or punched a wall, kids opened the door a little too fast and it punched a hole in the sheetrock, and now there's a hole where the doorknob is. Broken electrical outlets, broken electrical outlet covers, switch covers, missing light bulbs, not matching light bulbs. That is another thing that people will get charged for because, you're moving out, or, I even do it in my own home. Light bulb burns out. What do? Go to the garage. Hey, there's a light bulb that fits. Screw it in. It doesn't match the other two in the three light fixture. So what we have to do is we got to get rid of all three of those and make a match. So the next person has all matching light bulbs. So you will get charged for that if that happens to be the case. And then that's pretty much it for rentals. Just a nice, short, sweet video for you, and podcast. I'm doing both at the same time here. I got my microphone right over here. And of course, if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see that I'm pointing to the microphone or the camera for my YouTube video. Done at the same time. Anyway, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at bob@awardpm.com, or you can reach me by cell, 682-224-7071. You can visit my personal website at www.iselltx.com. That's iselltex.com. And I look forward to hearing from you. Maybe I'll rent you something or sell you something. I do both. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.